Astro has 4 flight modes that can be accessed via hardware buttons on the HereLink controller. In production, this one will move over to the house button, but the function will be the same. And the reason to have these different modes is that the stick inputs tell the aircraft different things in each mode. The aircraft will actually do different things when you move the stick, depending on which mode you're in. Manual is different than the other modes because in manual mode, the props spin at a speed proportional to the deflection of the stick. And that makes it behave quite differently, but it gives you very direct control of the aircraft. And that's why we have a red sticker there. Let me put the aircraft in the air and I'll show you how each of these act. Before we take off, we'll go to Vehicle Setup, we'll go to Safety, and we'll go to the Return to Launch settings. These are the settings that govern the return mode. Where I'm flying today, I need an altitude of 40 meters. Oh, sorry, I should be more specific about that. So what happens in return mode, when you punch this, the aircraft will fly back to the place that it's taken off. But as the diagram suggests, it will actually climb to an altitude you specify here before flying back. And that's so that it can clear a tree or an obstacle or anything like that. If you engage return mode at an altitude higher than 40 meters, it'll fly back at whatever altitude that might be. So 50 meters, for example. It'll fly back at 50 meters and then land. You can change what it does when it arrives back home here. We recommend land immediately. Okay, so always make sure to check that this setting is appropriate for your flight field before you fly. Now, let's take off. So here we are in the air. We're in position mode. You can tell we're in position mode because it'll tell you the mode here. If you want to change modes, you can touch one of the hardware buttons or you can touch this and select a mode there as well. In position mode, the function of this stick is to control the vertical speed of the aircraft. So as you move the stick, the aircraft will have a vertical speed proportional to the amount you move the stick. So you can move down at a slow speed by moving the stick down a small amount. You can move up at a fast speed by moving the stick up a large amount. Moving the stick laterally spins the aircraft at a speed proportional to the distance you deflect the stick. And that function, lateral movement of this stick, is actually the same for all the modes that we're going to talk about today: position, altitude, and manual. This stick, in position mode, acts similarly to the throttle stick. The aircraft moves laterally at a speed proportional to the amount of stick deflection that you give. And you can move them together. So you can give inputs in 2 directions at the same time and the aircraft will move, combining those inputs. So we can move laterally at a slow speed or a fast speed. In altitude mode, the function of this stick is the same. The aircraft moves vertically at a speed that's proportional to the amount you move the stick. But it doesn't control position anymore. It only controls altitude. So that means that this stick does not control the aircraft's speed, but rather the angle of tilt it has in each direction: forward, aft, left, and right. Let me show you.
Altitude flight mode.
So you'll notice the aircraft immediately begins to drift. And I'll move this stick to compensate for the wind. And with just some small deflections, I can hold it right here. But if I let go, then it drifts again. You can see the wind is mostly towards me right now. And so in this mode, as I move the stick, the aircraft tilts to an angle that's proportional to my stick deflection. I can give it a big tilt, like this, or I can give it very subtle tilts, like it was before. But also, I can control altitude, just as I did, in position mode. So the function of the throttle stick remains the same between position and altitude. Let's go back to position.
Position flight mode.
Quick review. In position mode and altitude mode, this stick has the same function. It moves the aircraft at a vertical speed proportional to your deflection. In position mode, this stick allows you to control the speed of the aircraft, left, right, forward, back. In altitude mode, this stick controls the tilt of the aircraft, forward, back, left, right, which means that if there's wind and there's zero input, the aircraft will just be flat and it will drift with the wind, like this.
Altitude flight mode.
You can see it begins to drift immediately. But then I can compensate by dialing in a little bit of a tilt. I am the autopilot, in this case, to control the horizontal position of the aircraft. In manual mode, the function of this stick changes. In manual mode, the speed of the propellers is proportional to the position of the stick. We have it tuned so that in the middle position, the aircraft will be pretty close to a hover. It'll depend on the temperature, exactly where you are, but it's pretty close. Let me show you what that looks like. The function of this stick is just as in altitude mode. So in manual, I'm controlling the tilt of the aircraft here, and I'm controlling the speed of the propellers, not the horizontal position. So that means it'll drift horizontally and it'll drift vertically. You'll see it begin to move almost immediately, and I'll have to be managing actively both of these to hold a hover. Watch this.
Manual flight mode.
So the wind is catching it, and I'm just giving pretty small inputs here. Gusts will blow it up and down, left and right, but with small motions, I can manage it. Astro's tuned really well, and it flies really nicely in manual mode. But if you're not ready for it, then it can surprise you. So make sure to practice manual mode a lot if you haven't flown this way before. Astro has a lot of power, and you'll feel really well connected to the aircraft in manual mode because you can access all that power. It's awesome and a lot of fun.
Position flight mode.
Quick review. In position mode and altitude mode, this stick does the same thing. It moves the aircraft at a speed, moves the aircraft vertically at a speed proportional to your deflection. In position mode, this one moves the aircraft at a speed proportional to your deflection. In altitude mode, it'll drift with the wind, and you have to compensate by moving this stick to adjust the aircraft tilt. In manual mode, you have full control. You're adjusting tilt with this stick, and you're adjusting prop speed with this stick.
Manual flight mode.
You can see it's really docile in manual mode. If you have a payload on, you'll have to dial in more thrust, but it'll still behave just as nicely. So there's a quick tutorial about what Astro can do in each mode. Enjoy!